Welcome to Global Investment Voice, your premier podcast for diving deep into the world of investment migration. Are you dreaming of a second or third passport? Then join us as we traverse the globe, exploring the ins and outs of the U.S. EB-5 immigrant investor visa, uncover the secrets of golden visas, and delve into the many residency and citizenship by investment programs. Each episode is packed with exclusive insights from top industry experts. Whether you're an investor, developer, or a visionary entrepreneur, we're here to guide you through the complexities of global investment migration. And who better to navigate this journey with than your hosts, the dynamic legal duo of this industry, Mona Shah and Rebecca Singh. Plus, hear directly from a lineup of global investment migration leaders. So, buckle up and tune in to Global Investment Voice, where your global investment journey begins and expands.
Hey, Rebecca. Everyone in EB-5 and beyond probably knows one date right now, September 30th, 2026.
Yes, but, almost no one agrees on what it actually means. Mona, we see investors, potential investors, coming to us and thinking it's the regional center program that's going to expire. And it's not. That date is set for September 30th of 2027. And then we have another date that's throwing at us. When is the investment amount going to be adjusted? Is that September as well? That's not. That's also set for January 1st of 2027.
That's right. RIA schedules the adjustment for January 1st, 2027, but we don't know for sure that it is going to be that. But it is the grandfathering cutoff that I think is important that people understand. File a qualifying regional center petition, not a direct petition, by that date, and it must be adjudicated, even if Congress later lets the program lapse. That's all it does. And that also is exactly why it does matter.
Yeah. So I think today we wanted to make this episode into a myth debunking episode. So that way there's a lot of confusion out there.
I do like that word. Myth debunking.
But before we debunk anything, tell us why. Why is this grandfathering clause exist? Why is it out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people who are new to the industry probably don't remember. We remember. And I think it's important that people do understand why this clause exists at all. And then you kind of understand. It was really written to clean up a mess. And that was the mess from 2021. If you remember, Rebecca, I mean, you were around in 2021. One day, Congress had renewed the regional center program almost as a reflex for years and years and years. And then one day, it simply didn't. Yeah. Do you recall what actually happened? Why the program went dark overnight?
Yeah, well, it just stopped. I think that was on June 30th of 2021.
Do you remember we had a week of it coming back when we had that lawsuit relating to the 900 regulation? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that week though, Mona, it was such panic. And I can't tell you how many calls we received from investors because that one week was just, I mean, even for us, it was like, what do we do? What do we tell our clients? The issue was that USAS just stopped reviewing all EB-5 or regional center EB-5 petitions. So the I-526 petitions at that time. So those that were pending, they just stopped reviewing. And then what made it worse is that those that were actually approved, they also stopped any further adjudication or moving forward with those cases, whether you had an adjustment of status pending, if you had a consular processing interview, all of it was canceled.
That's right. I mean, nobody knows really what was going on in USCIS's mind, whether they thought the program was ending, but it certainly panicked everybody. And then when we later looked back at the scale, I mean, IAUSA did do an data analysis from the period. And I believe in their data analysis, they had something like 90% of historical EB-5 participation runs through regional centers. And so the lapse swept roughly 32,600 committed investors and their families. There was nearly 12,000 held pending. These are 12,000 I-526 petitions receiving no adjudication at all. And 20,630 just sat with approved petitions, fully vetted, waiting for the conditional green card, which the government had stopped issuing.
Yeah, can you imagine the mindset of, just can imagine the investors, you put all your money in here. What do you do? What would have happened if, that they didn't decide to continue with the program? So projects already had the funding. There was no way they were going to return capital at that time. I mean, It was billions of dollars.
Yeah, again, I think the same data shows was 15 billion in committed capital. And there was an estimated 4.9 billion mid-flight and into the US economy. I think 10.3 billion already deployed. So I think the figures were something like 487,000 American jobs in the risk column. So basically, to make sure that this doesn't happen again, folks, this is why we have this grandfathering clause. It was like, you don't write anything else, you're definitely going to write in a grandfathering clause.
Yeah, but at least that kind of helps investors. It helps us as well, because at least we know what's happening. We have a date to tell everyone and when to get these petitions filed.
Right.
If something like this happens again.
Right. Okay, so back in 2022, straight after this period, obviously we had the EB-5 Reform and Integrity Act, which came out in March of 2022. And it was built, it has the grandfathering promise there. But in plain English, Rebecca, what does the grandfathering clause actually say? Because this has been played around with a lot.
So in basic terms, if your petition was filed on or before September 30th of 2026, your application or petition must still be adjudicated even after the program lapse. So if, let's say, September
if the program lapse.
Yes, exactly. So if that date is September 30th of 2027. So yes, there's a year period in between that. If they decide to close or shut the regional center program, if you filed before September 30th of 2026, again, your application must be adjudicated and it will be kept open for you to receive the conditional green card and to adjudicate your I-829 petition to get the permanent green card.
Right. So again, in plain English, the clause exists because Congress has already proven that it's going to let the program lapse and leave investors stranded unless there was something there.
So Mona, let's get to debunking these myths. And I have the first one for you, which is everywhere. The Regional Center Program is authorized through September 30th, 2027. So there is plenty of time. True or false?
Technically true, but it's also a little misleading. It's true because, yes, the program does run through September 30th, 2027. That's simply the date the current authorization runs out if Congress does nothing. It is the date that webinars love because they would love to get investors all the way to the very last minute. And it sounds like, oh, we've got a lot of time yet. But it's not a date that actually protects anyone.
Yeah, so the date that actually buys you the safety or investor safety is September 30th of 2026.
Okay, so that's right. So you file a qualifying regional center petition, and there is an emphasis on the word qualifying. We'll discuss that in a minute. But you file a qualifying regional center petition on or before September 30th, 2026, and you are grandfathered. Your case is carried on to its conclusion, and the visa allocated even if the program is never renewed.
So then there's this gap year. You have from September 30th, 2026 to September 30th of 2027. And what does that actually mean for investors who file within that time period?
Well, it basically is as long as the program stays authorized, then your case will be adjudicated. If USCIS loses the authority to finish the case, in the sense that if the program is not authorized, and let's say you file in February of September 2027, and by September, USCIS is still working on cases filed in 2026. They're not even up to cases filed in 2027. They're simply not going to touch your case.
Yeah. So for everyone, again, the safe date is September 30th of 2026.
Right. However, there's a lot of howevers, and because regional centers have come to us and they've asked after we've explained this. I mean, they've said, well, what can we do? Should we still take people's money? And we've told them, yes, but you have to have something there written. I do believe we have to have something written to say that you will put, let's say you'll have a safety valve. Maybe you keep the client's money in escrow until you know for sure that the program is going to be rescued by Congress.
Yeah. So I think this is where escrow will actually help projects now.
Oh, right. Yeah. Escrow's being a pain. I know.
Okay. But moving on, we've got myth number 2. File by September 30th of 2026 and you lock in the $800,000 investment amount. That's a wrong date again, isn't it? So what does the statute actually say about the amounts?
Yep, wrong date again. There's no such thing as locking in. The grandfathering period does not lock in anything. The investment amount by statute automatically adjusts for petitions. That's part of the statute. And it will automatically go forward. I believe, Rebecca, the date is January 1st?
Yes, of 2027.
Yes.
So it's going to be a date for those potential applicants or petitioners that will be filing in that 1-year gap period. Not only are you now worried about whether or not Congress is going to authorize the program on September 30th of 2027, the other issue is whether or not they're going to increase that amount on January 1st of 2027.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean to say that projects have to change. So that's what happened previously. If you recall, when the program changed, anyone who had an offering, any developer who had an offering, had to suddenly redo all the documents. That's not what's going to happen here. You can still file, I believe.
Yeah. Well,
you know what?
Now,
I don't know.
That's a time
I don't know.
Well, now we have the proposed rules that have come out. And right now it seems that it looks like the amount may stay the same for 2027. But again, these are still proposed rules. So there's still a lot that's going to come, I think, within the next few months on that.
Yes, you're right, Rebecca. And honestly, everything can change. We don't know. But right now, it does appear to us, I have not read anything in RIA which says that if you have an existing offering and, your offering can't continue. I could be wrong. And we will come back to you if we know we are wrong. Yeah. And we'll see what the regs are going to come out and say. But I think that a tidy takeaway for regional center investors is, files by September 30th, 2026. And if the amount does go up, it's going to be an easy fix because it will be an amendment for existing projects.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see because I feel that even now we have issues with amendments. We don't know what is an amendment, what's not, and with the cost. So I think, that would be something interesting.
But I do think that we do need to say right now, if anybody gives you a figure, it's we don't know what it is. The figure, the final number really doesn't exist until DHS publishes it in the Federal Register.
Exactly. As we move on to myth number 3, so grandfathering protects every EB-5 investor, so everyone needs to race to the deadline. Who does this clause actually cover?
Did you write that question, Rebecca? Race to the deadline. That sounds, marketing, right? That's what every project is going to say. Come on, you got to get there. Okay. If it's a regional center concern, there is a big capital full stop there. Because the whole point of grandfathering is really to insulate the regional center investors from a regional center program lapse. It only answers a problem which regional centers have. It does not affect direct EB-5 investors. They're not in this conversation at all.
And that's the interesting part. And I think we're going to get into a bit more detail a bit later, but I wanted to debunk one more myth, which is file before the deadline and you are home free. Grandfathering means approval. Where does the protection actually stop? I think this is the confusion.
No. Grandfathering is no approval. Grandfathering is no guarantee that you're going to file at a certain amount. Grandfathering is just adjudication, which now I think we have said like 19 times on this episode, Rebecca. So,
but I think, with this deadline, this pending deadline, there's going to be a lot of skeletal filings, which we have discussed on this podcast in the past with the many deadlines that we've had. And I think that's where potential investors need to understand that you are just being grandfathered. Your petition will be adjudicated. It's not just going to stop, but you must have a petition that's approvable upon filing.
Oh, yeah. And there's one more thing that I did see. The grandfathering also doesn't do anything about per country visa backlogs. They march to their own grim drum, unfortunately. So we don't even know. Next month, we could have a backlog. It's got nothing to do with the September 30th deadline.
Yeah. That's a whole new category in itself.
Yeah. It's so, I think we could really say the grandfathering is like a seatbelt. It's not a fast pass.
Yeah.
It keeps the crash from hurting you, but it doesn't make the car go faster.
Exactly. But now that we've, debunked all these myths, Mona, I think you brought up an interesting point before, and we talked about the direct EB-5 program.
Yes.
Now, all of this, what we were talking about, is only the regional center program, as the direct program is actually in law. So that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, the regional center program is not a permanent fixture at this point, which is interesting. Yes. I know what you're going to ask me.
Mona, look into your crystal ball here and tell us, do you think permanent is going to be a permanent program?
Honestly,
ever?
For two reasons, and I'll give you the logical, then I'll give you the cynical. No. I don't think it's going to be permanent. Number one, I don't think that we're ready yet. I think there's still a lot of caveats. I feel like that not all of Congress is behind this. But the real reason, in my estimation, is the fact that whilst there is reauthorization required every 5 years, congressional staff keep getting money from lobbyists. So where there's money, there's always, they will
find a way to. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think also, too, after 4 years since RIA came out of 2022, they're now putting out proposed rules and regulations. Yeah. That's going to take a while, I think, to even come out.
And I think it so shows that we are definitely having a reauthorization. Otherwise USCIS has just wasted 4 years and Congress spent all that time. So I do believe that if I was a betting person, I would put everything on the red that, yes, it's going to be reauthorized.
I agree. But I think to be on the safe side, you try to get your application in before that deadline of September 30th, 2026.
But again, realistically speaking, we know it's not going to happen. We have projects, we have people. They're just not going to have their application ready. And there are so many projects in the pipeline.
Oh, yes. Yes. I think it's a popular program. It's a way of we get jobs created, funding in, investors and from countries where are backlogged in other categories. It's a way for them to get the green card. I really don't see it going anywhere. I think it'll still keep getting reauthorized. I don't think it'll become permanent, but I just don't see it going anywhere right away.
Yeah.
And luckily enough, like we said, the direct program is still there. So for anyone that doesn't have, is worried about these dates or I want to have something on the safer side as well, may want to look into direct entrepreneurial projects.
Right. If you do have deadline anxiety, I think really consider doing a direct project. But saying that, the figure relating to the increase of the minimum amount of capital does affect the direct as well as the regional center.
Yes. So that could potentially have an effect starting January 1st of 2027. Let's make it concrete for the listener. 3 investors walk into the office. I know. And we've been chatting all this time. And let's put it down to 3 investors walk into the office. Where does each one actually stand?
I knew you were going
Seat
to
1. I'll make it easy. We'll go through one at a time. Seat 1, right. Regional center investor. Filed on or before September 30th of 2026.
All right.
Where do they stand?
Easy peasy. Grandfathered. The petition must be adjudicated and the visa allocated regardless of any future lapse. This one is your safe seat.
Yeah. Okay. Seat number 2, regional center investor, filed October 1st, 2026 through September 30th of 2027.
Valid only while the program remains authorized. and exposed if Congress lets it expire without renewal. So the later the filing, the sharper the risk. So this seat is kind of split 2 on price. File before January 1st, 2027, and the current amounts still apply. File on or after that date, and the CPI adjusted amounts do.
Last but not least, seat 3, direct or your standalone investor.
Another straightforward one, not bound for program survival. So you can file all the way to September and beyond for 2027, and you will be adjudicated. The direct program is permanent. Grandfathering is irrelevant. Nothing about the regional center sunset threatens direct EB-5.
Yeah, so the only issue that investors in a direct or standalone would have to worry about is if the amount increases in January of 2027.
Yeah, and just before we end, Rebecca, I just think it's interesting because we're reading all the different blogs, and some of them are really dramatic and, Oscar winning. But one of the blogs did say that they thought that demand might spike and supply might shrink. I think it was the ILW one.
I think they've always say that. I mean, I don't know. We're in July.
Yeah.
And I'm hesitant because I would say this and then all of a sudden we get this major rush coming in September.
Yeah, but they're saying that, and we are actually seeing this too, Rebecca, that high unemployment area projects are in oversupply and rural projects are relatively few. And there really is not too much choice left in rural. So that's what I think ILW is getting at.
Yes, but I don't know. There's always like we said, projects will always find a way. I'm sure there's more than we think that's out there.
Just to wrap up, I would like to ask you, do we prepare for an EB-5 tsunami in June, July, August, and September of 2026?
So I hesitate to say this because we're in July of 2026. I don't see the tsunami now, and I don't think anyone has. We are busy, but I'm sure you see September 1st, end of August, September. I think that's when everyone's going to get their act together and decide that they wanted to file before the September 30th, 2026 deadline. That's
yeah,
what
I agree. I agree. But here's my other take on this. You can't really compare, which is what ILW are doing. You can't compare to 2019 because 2019 was the difference was 500 to 900. It was double.
Exactly.
Whereas here we're talking about possibly 940, maybe 960, maybe 920. And there is even stuff in the proposal to keep the 800 as is. So I think that if somebody has 800,000, moving up to 900 isn't going to be such a big deal for them.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the end of it for some of these investors. But I would say that everyone should be prepared. I think at this point, it's not 2019 either, where things were just kind of getting in and you can answer an easy RFE. This administration, it has become tougher. And so just be prepared to, get more than a skeletal filing in.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Global Investment Voice. A huge thank you to all our listeners for tuning in and sharing this journey with us. Curious about unlocking the potential of global migration and citizenship? Make sure to visit us online at mshawlaw.com and globalinvestmentvoice.com. Dive into our extensive library of podcast episodes. Stay ahead with the latest in migration news by signing up for our insider newsletter. Don't forget to connect with us on social media. Find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook to keep the conversation going. Remember, the insights shared in our podcast are for informational purposes only, so please seek tailored legal, financial, or investment advice where needed. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep investing smart and living well with Global Investment Voice. We'll see you on the next episode.